Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're talking about something that's likely in your hand, or at least within arm's reach, your smartphone. For an entire generation of kids and teens, these devices aren't just tools. They're constant companions. But as these glowing screens become a permanent fixture in the hands of the young, a critical question emerges. How is this unprecedented relationship with technology shaping the very architecture of their developing brains? The answer isn't simple. It's a complex picture of neurological changes, and it points towards a significant rewiring of a generation's cognitive and emotional landscape. Today, we're diving deep into the science of the phone-based childhood. To understand how a phone can rewire a brain, we first need to appreciate just how remarkable a child's brain is. It's not a static organ. It's incredibly dynamic, constantly changing in response to experience. This is called neuroplasticity. During the first few years of life, the brain creates a staggering number of neural connections. This is followed by a period of pruning, where unused connections are trimmed away to make the brain more efficient. This whole process of blooming and pruning continues right through adolescence, a time when the brain undergoes a massive restructuring, especially in the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is your brain's CEO. It's in charge of planning, decision-making, impulse control, and focusing your attention. Here's the catch. This vital region isn't fully mature until your mid-20s. This makes the teenage brain incredibly susceptible to environmental influences. Its heightened plasticity means that the experiences of childhood and adolescence have a profound and lasting impact. And it's into this crucial window of development that the smartphone has made its grand entrance. Now, smartphones and the apps on them aren't neutral. They are masterfully designed to capture and hold your attention. Many of them, especially social media and games, hijack the brain's own reward system. The key player here is a neurotransmitter called dopamine. When you experience something enjoyable, like getting a like on a post or even just a notification, your brain releases a little hit of dopamine. It feels good, and it reinforces the behavior that led to it, making you want to do it again. This is amplified by what's known as a variable reward system. It's the same principle that makes slot machines so addictive. You don't know when the next reward is coming. That unpredictability keeps your brain in a state of constant anticipation, compelling you to check your phone over and over. For the developing adolescent brain, which is already highly sensitive to dopamine, this constant stimulation can be overwhelming. It can create a dependency on the device, a cycle of craving and compulsive use that makes other, less immediately rewarding activities, like reading a book or doing homework, seem incredibly dull in comparison. So what does this constant stimulation do to our ability to think? One of the biggest concerns is the effect on our attention spans. The brain, adapting to this new normal of constantly switching between apps, texts, and notifications, can become less skilled at sustained focus. Think about tasks that require deep concentration, like reading a long article or working through a complex math problem. This attention fragmentation is something many adults feel, but for a brain that's still developing its focus circuits, the impact might be more lasting. Studies have directly linked excessive screen time to increased attention problems in children and adolescents. Some research even suggests a correlation between heavy smartphone use and symptoms that look a lot like ADHD. And that idea of being a great multitasker? It's largely a myth, especially for teens. The adolescent brain isn't fully equipped to handle rapid task switching. Trying to do so actually leads to a decrease in cognitive efficiency and, crucially, lower retention of information. You might feel busy, but you're learning less. Our ability to learn and remember is also changing. With the entire world's information just a tap away, the need to memorize facts has plummeted. While convenient, this can lead to what some researchers call mental laziness. We're outsourcing our memory to our devices. Beyond that, the constant interruptions from our phones disrupt the very process of memory consolidation. For your brain to take information from the day and store it in long-term memory, you need deep, restorative sleep, especially REM sleep. But the blue light emitted from smartphone screens is a known enemy of sleep. It suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that tells your body it's time to rest. This leads to disrupted sleep patterns and not enough of that critical REM sleep. So even if a teenager manages to power through a study session, the information might not stick if their sleep is compromised by late-night screen use. Studies using brain imaging have found a negative correlation between time spent on screens and the functional connectivity between brain regions related to language and cognitive control. On the flip side, time spent reading for fun was positively correlated with those same connections. One study even found that the frequency of internet use was negatively correlated with changes in verbal IQ over time. The more you use the internet, the less your verbal intelligence seems to grow. It's not just about thinking, it's about feeling and connecting. Social skills are honed through thousands of hours of face-to-face interaction. We learn to read the subtle nonverbal cues, a slight frown, a shift in tone of voice, a change in body language, that are essential for empathy and effective communication. When kids and teens spend excessive time on their phones, they're missing out on these crucial in-person practice sessions. When a child uses a phone to avoid an awkward social moment or to calm themselves down, they miss an opportunity to build the resilience and self-regulation skills needed to handle real-world challenges. Research has shown that children who spend more time on screens may actually struggle to read emotional expressions in others compared to their peers with less screen time. The flat, two-dimensional nature of a text message or a social media feed is an impoverished form of stimulation compared to the rich, multi-sensory experience of being with another person. This leads us to one of the most serious concerns: mental health. A growing body of research is linking heavy smartphone and social media use to a rise in anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem among adolescents. Social media presents a curated, often impossibly perfect version of life. This constant exposure can lead to negative social comparison, making teens feel that their own lives are inadequate. Then there's the fear of missing out, or FOMO, and the relentless pressure to be constantly available and responsive, which are significant contributors to anxiety. The online world also opens the door to cyberbullying, which can have severe and lasting psychological scars. A massive global study of over 100,000 young people delivered a stark finding. Owning a smartphone before the age of 13 was strongly tied to poorer mental health and well-being in adulthood. This included a higher likelihood of suicidal thoughts, aggression, and a feeling of being detached from reality. The main culprits were identified as early access to social media, exposure to cyberbullying, and disrupted sleep. Thanks to neuroimaging, we can now literally look inside the brain and see some of these changes. Preliminary data from the Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study, or ABCD study, a huge, long-term project in the United States, has revealed some concerning patterns. Brain scans of children with high levels of screen time showed a premature thinning of the cortex. The cortex is the brain's wrinkly outer layer, responsible for processing information from our senses. While some cortical thinning is a normal part of maturation, seeing it happen prematurely could mean that development is being accelerated in some ways, potentially at the expense of developing more complex, higher-order functions. Other studies have found a reduction in gray matter volume in brain regions associated with cognitive control, emotional regulation, and decision-making in people with smartphone addiction. These structural changes could be the physical manifestation of the cognitive and behavioral issues we've been discussing. Changes are also happening at a chemical level. For instance, some research has found that errors in the production of GABA, a neurotransmitter that helps calm the brain and control anxiety, can make it harder for the brain to manage stress and fear. Another MRI study found that key nodes in the brain's mesolimbic network, which is associated with sleep disruptions and depression, are overactivated in teens who use their smartphones more frequently. And in a very direct example of neuroplasticity, The constant use of touchscreens has been shown to alter how the thumbs and the brain work together. The amount of brain cortex activity associated with the thumb and forefinger is directly proportional to how much time a person spends on their device. Your brain is literally reshaping itself to better use your phone. Now, while much of this sounds alarming, it's crucial to maintain a balanced perspective. The relationship between screen time and well-being isn't a simple, straight line. The digital world isn't all bad. It offers incredible opportunities for learning, creativity, and social connection. For some young people, especially those from marginalized groups, online communities can provide a sense of belonging and support they might not find in their immediate physical environment. Even video games, often a source of parental anxiety, can have positive effects, like improving visuospatial skills and problem-solving abilities. The key takeaway from all the diverse and sometimes conflicting research seems to be this: the quality of screen time matters far more than the quantity. Passively scrolling through endless videos is very different from actively engaging in a creative project, learning a new language on an app, or using the phone to collaborate with friends on a school project. The context also matters. Is the child using the phone in isolation or as a tool for shared experiences with family? The story isn't as simple as screens are bad. So given this complex picture, how can we help kids and teens develop a healthy relationship with technology? Experts from various fields offer some clear guidance. First, delay and discuss. Many experts recommend delaying the introduction of a personal smartphone until a child has better impulse control, with some suggesting age 13 or even older. Before they get a phone, it's vital to have open, ongoing conversations about responsible use and online safety. Second, set clear boundaries from the very beginning. This means limits on the amount of screen time and creating phone-free zones and times, like during meals and especially at bedtime. And critically, parents need to model these healthy habits themselves. Third, prioritize sleep above all else. This means no screens for at least an hour before bed, and phones should be charged outside the bedroom at night. Fourth, actively encourage real-world activities. Facilitate sports, hobbies, creative pursuits, and most importantly, face-to-face time with friends and family. Let kids be bored sometimes. Boredom is often the spark for creativity and imagination. Fifth, focus on quality content. Encourage the use of educational apps and content that foster critical thinking. Be aware of what your child is consuming and the risks of harmful material. Finally, maintain open communication. Create an environment where your child feels safe talking to you about their online experiences, both good and bad. The digital brain of the next generation is not a predetermined outcome. It's a work in progress. Early and intensive smartphone use is undeniably shaping development in ways we're just beginning to fully grasp. The evidence points to real changes in how we focus, how we remember, how we connect with others, and even in the physical structure of the brain. But the story isn't one of doom and gloom. The same neuroplasticity that makes the young brain vulnerable also makes it incredibly resilient and adaptable. By understanding the science, acknowledging the risks and the benefits, and taking a mindful approach, we can guide the next generation toward a future where technology serves them, not the other way around. The goal isn't to demonize the smartphone, but to subordinate it to the true priorities of a healthy childhood: strong social connections, deep learning, and a rich, vibrant engagement with the real world. The future of the digital brain depends not on the technology itself, but on the wisdom with which we choose to use it. Thanks for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online.